and welcome back to part 5 of Devil May Cry 5 Vergil Breaks the Game Into edition, where today we're thoroughly kicking into what was Dante's mission, starting with the push towards Cavalier Angelo, and we're actually going to be wrapping up this part all the way at the boss rush in mission 14. Because although this mission is a little bit on the lengthier side, and mission 12 kind of is per se, depending on how many of the encounters you go out of your way to deal with, 13 and 14 are both tiny, especially as Vergil, with the way he is. So I thought, what's the point in just making this video a bit shorter? I should probably be able to make it a bit longer and get away with it. Additionally, this video, my playstyle in this video is going to be slightly different than what you saw last video, well at least it might be, because unlike last video, I'm recording this at a different time of the day. Usually when I record anything for YouTube, especially live projects, like if it's post-production, sometimes it can be a bit different. But usually when it's live, it's first thing in the morning. I wake up, have some food, have a drink of water, and then kick up recording. Like it's literally like that. I just do it as soon as I'm able once I'm up. Just get it out the way sort of thing. Which I say that, it makes it like I don't enjoy it. That's not it. I just like doing it first. Especially if it's live. Whilst this, to follow the usual schedule of when this is uploaded, this will be Thursday morning in UK time, whilst it will be like Thursday like just past midnight or something US time. I'm not sure, I don't keep up with the time zones too much. Either way, it'll be over the night. This is being I will be busy throughout Thursday, so this is being recorded now so I can upload it at the time and it just be done. I don't have to do anything. Because there's usually last minute edits and publishing and talkovers and just the extra that I do of the day that I'm pushed forward solely so then when I'm busy, you don't miss an upload. If anything, it helps out because it means once I'm back from the thing that I'm going to be busy with tomorrow, I've got the entirety of tomorrow to grind out Dragonstar Varnir, since I've been letting that fall by the wayside a little bit with the grinding. Because I've yet to actually start grinding out Charlotta's Dragon Cores yet. In the last video we just got her. That's actually as far as I've recorded. So by the time this goes out, I should have hopefully played it a little bit more anyway. But yeah, just as a whole, even though this will be out at the normal time, know that I recorded it the previous evening instead of in the morning. So expect me to play a little more relaxed because, you know, it is later in the day. I've chilled out. Like, I've already had, like, my last meal of the day. I've had, like, an evening shower to just kind of cool off and relax for the day. Like, I'm like, this is relaxed, chilled out Rob, who doesn't want to deal with Fury, so fuck that thing. And that's going to be the general idea for this video. But that shouldn't change the fact that I should, in theory... Oh god, we hit each other. Get through 4 missions in this video, which is quite wild. Like... You guys will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the only time in the history of me doing Devil May Cry stuff that there's been 4 missions in a video. I think. Maybe DMC2 was different, like I'm really not sure. But I'm like, I think that is just the nature of the beast. Oh! Where with Vergil being such a powerhouse he is, and some of the missions coming up being a little bit shorter, this is one of, if not the first instance of 4 missions being knocked out in a single video. Which, if that alone isn't a signifier of how many less parts it's going to be to get through Vergil's campaign, I don't know what is. Like, it's not going to be anywhere near as long as the main campaign was, which you already should have known with the whole no cutscenes thing, but it's going to really start being felt in videos like this one, in theory. As we, you know, start doing the only real puzzle, if you can even count it in the game again, of just breaking this building down, just so you can get clean around. Like, that, like, blood bit, you really don't need to worry about if as Vergil, because, well, what are you going to get in there? There's no clean around. So you might as well just go all the way around up and break the only one that's in front of you, and then go the other way. Vergil? What was that about? He just stopped. Oh, God. If you want to grind out a lot of red orbs and don't want to do Bloody Palace for whatever goddamn reason, this is a good spot in LDK to grind them up. Because instead of breaking the blood clot underneath to make the path forward break open, go over into this area beforehand, because it's a guaranteed spawn of the red Imbusers, and because it's LDK, it'll multiply them up. So you just get a whole bunch for free pretty early in the mission. Yeah, you have to deal with that Fury at the start, but with Vergil, you know, you can just Judgment Cut them to death. You just Judgment Cut end them a second time. I just forgot that there was a second Fury, so I started worrying about other stuff when it showed up. But speaking of an encounter I will Judgment Cut end, though. Screw this encounter. The Judica's a pain in the ass, so just no. Goodbye. After my first encounter of them on LDK, I have never not done that when I've got to this fight. I say that, I've actually yet to do LDK as Nero, Dante, and V outright. Like, I need to actually try that out, because I'm kind of curious to see how that will go with the characters that don't really have boss skills. You know? Like, I imagine it'll still be good fun. Especially for Dante, with how Dante is anyway, especially in 5. And if worse comes to it, you know, Sin Devil Trigger exists, and it rips the game in 2, and will rip LDK in 2 anyway. But it will be interesting to at least try out. The only reason I've been hesitant is the age-old problem of V. I don't think V will be that fun to deal with it, because it'll be a lot more just jumping around like a maniac whilst trying to control your minions that will just blend into the enemies. Oh, I've yet to actually, that was the first time I showed off the shoulder check. Like with this attack right now, in DMC4's SE, that was the only, the Yamato was the only attack that got like an extended loop when you was in DT. Whilst in 5, they added that to Beowulf and the Force Edge, or the Mirage Edge. The Mirage Edge is just don't go into the millions, like the million stab. If you just do it, he will follow up like the final stab with an extra push that does extra damage. But with Beowulf, you actually have to do the B combo. You have to delay into the rapid kick. And if you do it at the end, you'll get an extra hit in the Devil Trigger where he shoulder checks. And the shoulder check does bafflingly large damage. But the shoulder check, I think, gets away with doing the most damage of the lot, because it requires the most setup. Like, it's the only one where you're not just spamming. You have to actually have a delay into it, go through the million strike of one of them, and then from there work your way through. Also in the uppercut, you get a third strike in the uppercut in Sin Devil Trigger, making it even more powerful. If you just use Sin Devil Trigger normally and not just for boss skills, you'll notice it that perfectly in its own right, it is extremely powerful. But I think that just adds to it. Genuinely, I think it just makes it more fun. As I mentioned at the start of this, the beauty of Vergil is that I treat Vergil as the New Game Plus character. He's your reward for beating the game, is that you just get to rip heads off with him. With no remorse. Yeah, if there was ever a point in the future where, say like in a Devil May Cry 6, they give Vergil his own campaign, I think they will have to think about how they address this problem. I think they will finally have to sit down and go, okay, we either need to make it so Vergil has a bunch of unique enemies that test his playstyle specifically, or we need to nerf this son of a bitch. But the problem with the latter is that the moment you nerf him, you make people want to just play the older version, which is probably the main reason why they buffed the crap out of him in this even further, so you have more reason to want to play as him. The key example of this is how many pro players have just gone back to DMC4 when they aren't modding 5 to play as Dante, because Dante's extra tech just makes him more fun, regardless of what they were trying to do with him in 5. Some of just the minor tech of him just makes him more interesting in 4. So I think they would just have to make him unique enemies. But then you have the problem of, say, Bloody Palace, for instance, with the whole one and done. Suddenly those unique enemies have got to work with Nero and Dante as well. And if they're so specifically built to challenge Vergil because he can just warp up to your face and control the neutral game of any encounter, suddenly that could be a problem for Nero players. Outside of the grabs, like suddenly we've got more problems than it's worth as it goes on. This fight's still brilliant, by the way, even if it gets absolutely torn to shreds, thanks to yours truly right here. Like, he's hit me once, and he'll probably hit me a couple times because he always seems to get away. Actually, this might kill him. If I get a full charge on this, it's over. Yeah, it's over. Never mind. I was going to say, he might hit me one more time if he does, like, the supercharged, like, free hit combo he does. But no, that was... Yeah, we're like 10 minutes into this recording, and that mission's done. We're going to do 4 missions today. God, this actually reminds me, there was a style tournament. It was a while ago now, but it was just after Vergil first, like, well, I say, it was a little after Vergil came out. I think it might have been actually this year. But, oh god, I'm missing. This specific fight, the first time I saw it, I was like, what the fuck? Because it's literally like, there's no spawn in, there's no startup, you just literally click go on the mission, and there's a million of these guys in front of you. But anyway, they did a style tournament for Vergil, specifically in Mission 11 on Son of Sparta. And what they did is that they pit a speedrunner, they put in D Cosmic, against Kyo, which I might be pronouncing his name wrong, and I'm really sorry if I am. It's Kyo, so it might be Kyo actually. Which is Kyo is an extremely talented like combo player who does really well as Vergil. And they pitted them against each other to see who would do better in a style tournament. The precision and super speed of the Cosmic, or the more outlandish super fast combo making of Kyo. And it was fun to watch, it really was, but I feel like without them having to say anything, they found a way of subtly highlighting its problems of the style point system. Because anyone who watched it will tell you, even though both of them got hit about, especially with Cavalier, because they got cocky, and both of them got cocky, and then both of them got whacked by Cavalier a fair bit near the end. Kyo did play better, and had more variety in the style. But because he went for every single encounter, including the ones that could only ever punish his style rating, he lost. And he lost by like a good 150 points. And there was like very little denial that could be made as to any other reason why. But the Cosmic didn't bother being a speedrunner by nature with any of the optional encounters. He only did all of the mandatory ones, so avoided anything that could only serve to hurt his style rank. And ended up with a higher point score because of it, even though a lot of his combos were a lot more to the point of just kill shit as quick as possible, even if it punished the style points and in the long run. And it's kind of, the reason why I bring it up is because both one of the main producers, Matt Walker, and the director, Hideaki Itsuno, were watching and were commentating and hearing their the players' thoughts and feelings and such as they went on throughout it. And also, although they wouldn't bluntly disrespect and criticize or criticize, because they were invited to a specialized tournament by, you know, the Devil May Cry team, you're not then going to go in and say, oh, I have a problem with this, this, and this, because that's just rude, really. If they've gone out of the way to invite you, pay to get you in and whatnot, the least you could do is enjoy it, you know? So that was just a timing thing. Of course, they weren't going to do that, but they still found a way of, without having to say anything, without criticizing in any way, showing some of the problems with this style system. And it makes me, even if it's only in subtle ways, curious towards the future after the Itsuno years. Because as I've said before, after Dragon's Dogma 2, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the last game Itsuno does before he retires. He might make a new Power Stone or Rival Schools, but that's a huge might. Like, it feels like there's more of a possibility now that Capcom's fighting game department has been rearranged quite a lot, and a lot of the old blood with meaning no disrespect to the people in a lot of the old blood, but nowadays we're starting to hold them back, especially after the launch version of Street Fighter V and, well, MVCI. Even though MVCI had a lot of other problems that weren't just a developer point, it was a lot of rights that they couldn't get for characters that ended up really pulling back the roster. Because the netcode for that game was actually really good. It was just everything else that let it down. But, like, after that's gone in, like, Street Fighter V, even though I'm not a Street Fighter person at all, I have been really surprised since, like, early Season 3 of just where the direction it's been going. And Season 4, especially Gil, in my opinion, like, I know a lot of people like Seth, but for me, Gil really caught me off guard of how fun he was, because I didn't like him in 3. I didn't like playing him at all in Third Strike. Like the fact that they made him really fun for me, I was like, oh god, no, they know what they're doing now. They've got this together. And I haven't had a chance to play Season 5, because to be honest, I've kind of dropped off Street Fighter 5 completely nowadays, and it's like, I will give it another go, but I'm probably going to wait until either Akira comes out, the Rival Schools guest character, because I did play quite a fair bit of Rival Schools when I was little, so it'd be nice to just, for the sake of my past and the sake of my history, it'd be nice to give it a go. And depending on who that guest character is. Like, I completely agree with what a lot of people, like Maximilian Dude, Wooly, and a lot of others are saying, where we're theorizing that it's going to be a crossover character, and the reason why they haven't announced it is because it's going to tie into a game announcement that's yet to happen. And I, as much as it might be overly optimistic, I can see why they think that. Oh, by the way, this encounter still sucks. Oh, okay, I'm probably going to get waxed. Oh, no, I didn't. Damn. Well, there goes all my sin. All my sin DT. I thought I let go of L1 before I, unleashed. Oh, well, we've got a shit ton of Furies here. This encounter is, like, still one of the most intimidating encounters in the game. Like, they make it kind of more intimidating in Son of Sparta, where they add a second one to this. But in LDK, just, oh my god. There's like 6 of these motherfuckers in this small room. And it makes it scary. It does genuinely make it intimidating. This is like the only encounter in the game that every time I see it, I'm like, oh god, it's this one. But this encounter, I straight up didn't show up in the main campaign. So you get to suffer the full force of it because I'm doing the mission properly this time. Because although you kinda can skip with Vergil, it's nowhere near as effective or viable as it is with Dante. Because Dante, it's literally just, you press 2 buttons and you skipped half the level. Whilst with Vergil, it's a lot more of a precision game, and you have to be very specific with a lot of pieces to get it to work. Like, you have to wall bounce and then warp and then do like a Yamato B combo in the air to lift yourself up more, and Stinger. It's a piece of work to sort out, so it's just, I'd rather just do the mission legit, especially because, you know, I didn't on my main run. In the same vein as in Mission 15, I'm going to be showing off the more awkward and difficult route instead of the route that anyone who's played it once goes through. So that's just quicker and more convenient. But this guy's nearly dead. There he goes. But yeah, I do want to get back into Street Fighter 5, but it'll probably be after either Akira comes out or depending on who that guest character is. Because if the guest character is one that, or whatever the last one is, I'm only assuming it's a guest character. If the last one is something really interesting, there's a part of me that's just going to say, you know what, I'll wait until that character is out as well, so I can play both. I can just alternate between the two and see which one I like more. But until then, like, as much as Dan is a fun character in his own right, I was never a Dan Hibiki player, and I've no real interest in starting. The walking female JoJo reference has now got more JoJo references with the tarot cards. I think that I say that, although she's never been my cup of tea, I think she'll be alright. Just like in the same vein that Gil wasn't my cup of tea and he ended up being goddamn brilliant. I think she'll be fine. I'm trying to remember her name off the top of my head, that's why I'm avoiding it. I want to say Rosa, but I might be dead wrong. Shows how much I care for the character, if I'm honest. Aura looks fun. I was never an Aura player either. Like, if I was going to play as anyone, in Street Fighter, I was usually a Ken guy. Ken's just fun to play as, in my opinion. And it's not because of him being voiced by Ruben Langdon. It's not that. It is genuinely because I found Ken fun to play as. It wasn't enough to get me into Smash Bros. And I'm sorry for people who are Smash Bros. Fan. They're like, oh, what's Rob thinking about Smash Bros? I don't really have an opinion on Smash Bros. As a series. The only one I played was Brawl. And I went through the Subspace Emissary, and that was it, because I didn't really have any friends who played it, and none in my family are really video game players. So it was just something that didn't happen. I played it single player only. So that was kind of my only experience through Smash Bros. And to be fair, I enjoyed it enough. I finished the whole of Subspace Emissary, even with the goddamn maze. But that was about as far as I've gone, so I don't really have an opinion on the Smash Bros. Series, because I've never played it really out of an offline context, or in any kind of like competitive context in the sense of playing against someone. It's only ever been against bots. So even when they added Ryu and Ken into that, I was like, that's not going to be enough to make me get a Wii U for Smash 4, or nowadays get a Switch for Smash Ultimate. Which, to be fair, like, maybe one day I'll get a Switch. It's just, it's so low on my radar, because for me personally, there's not enough games for it that I want to play for me to justify it. Like, it'd be Breath of the Wild, Bayo 3, Shin Megami Tensei 5, No More Heroes 3, I had to think about that one, and that's it. There's genuinely nothing else on the system interests me. As much as I love Bravely Default and Bravely Second on the 3DS, it's one of those things where I don't mind letting it go a little bit. Like, it's one of those things where I'm not fussed. And with some of the rumor mills floating around of Silicon Studios' increased interest in bringing a lot of their games to other platforms, there's a part of me that's curious to see if Bravely Default 2 ends up on other platforms later on anyway, like Octopath Traveler slowly but surely is as well. Like, Octopath Traveler right now is on everything but PlayStation right now, with the common theory that it's only a matter of time before it's on PlayStation. The reason why it got to Xbox first is because it was on PC and it became part of Game Pass. It was on the Microsoft Store already and Steam, and so when it was added to Game Pass, it just became available on Xbox because of the cross-compatibility between the two anyway. So it really does feel like it's only a matter of time before it's on the only platform it's not. And to be fair, I don't mind waiting. In the JRPG market, how often JRPGs come to Sony first? I honestly don't mind them coming to other things first, because it's like, yeah, let other platforms who, like, even if they specialize in other things, get a good feel for a very underrated genre that's getting slowly but surely pushed by the wayside, it feels like, in recent years. With only things like Persona and the mainline Neptunia games, when they fucking release, upholding that original standard, because Final Fantasy has long since moved on to action, which is fine, because I genuinely enjoy the new route they're going with it, even if I do miss the old to an extent. And a lot of other games have followed suit of just making them far more action, or trying to go for this middle ground, sort of like the 7 remake, where it's action orientated, but if you want to use magic and whatnot, you still got to like build up meter and then spend it after a while, making this hybrid that I think works kind of well for the most part. So actually having more JRPGs pop up here and there, and pop up on more platforms other than just being the Sony minefield that they were for the longest time, especially on the tail end of the PS3, it's nice to see. I completely am all for it. I hate this like gatekeeping mentality of certain genres should only be in certain platforms. No, I want games to just be on everything, personally. I can be understanding to first-party exclusives, because they're first-party, they have to get the money in somehow, and they're usually made by the team that's for the platform. Like, you know, you don't really expect the Sony Entertainment Studio stuff to end up on the Xbox. I still think it should be on PC. Like, absolutely, I don't think there's any real excuse for it to not be on PC, and I'm glad that both Sony and Microsoft are kind of leaning into that after a while. Like, Bloodborne's still not on PC, which is baffling, but a lot of Sony first-party titles are slowly making their way to PC. Just a shame a lot of them are the ones that I don't really care for. At least personally, like, I did not give a flying fuck for Days Gone. I'm sorry, I tried. I was like, oh, a zombie game that's just completely leaning into the Horde mentality? Sure, that'll be fun. Played it for like 10 minutes. I was like, this is the most boring goddamn game I've ever played in my life. And just put it down. I know some people love it, and if you enjoy it, more power to you. It just felt like the game that was every single box to tick the video game. So, like, poorly implemented, undercut stealth. Like, poorly implemented, undercut, just there for the sake of it crafting. An open world that felt bland and pointless. And, like, over-dramatized story beats that interrupt all the time. I was like, this is just ticking every single goddamn box of the modern AAA. Oh, by the way, we wrecked Urizen again. Urizen is nil for free now, or 4 if you count us breaking his shield. He hasn't won once against us. Vergil is just ending him. I think that also, to an extent, ends up showcasing just how overpowered Vergil really is. That I can talk about other stuff kind of freely, like kind of just put me playing the game in the back of my mind, because I am playing this live, unlike Dragonstar. Just put it right in the back of my mind and just talk about whatever I want to talk about and still play really competently, and not only that, wreck shit up. Like, obviously I'm probably getting hit a lot more. Like, if I shut up and concentrated, there's been the odd things I'd hit cleaner. Like, I think it was in Mission 7, there was a point where, you know, like, if you were watching, you might have noticed that I straight up shut up to get a Judgment Cut perfect timing, because for some reason I wasn't getting it consistently, and it bugged me enough that I had to shut up to get it, because I was getting distracted by the fact I wasn't doing it. But yeah, Vergil does absolutely break the game in two, and I would never have it any other way. But yeah, the idea of bringing all these like first-party games to PC eventually, I think, yeah, go for it. But the idea of third-party exclusives, I've never really had time for, even in the games I love. Even if it's a game I know I'll love, like it's a sequel sort of thing, I will still either greatly criticize it or just straight up pull away until they fix it. The key example was the reboot Tomb Raider trilogy. Rise of the Tomb Raider infamously got a shit ton of backlash because it was a brought timed exclusive. Well, it was brought and it was a brought exclusive, and people bitched hard enough it changed to a timed exclusive. And rightly so, because it was ridiculous. A franchise that had long since been developing its legacy on as many platforms as possible, arguably most so through the PlayStation, due to the sheer success of the PlayStation 1 legacy of it, going into the early PS2 days with Legend and Anniversary as well. At least for me, Anniversary, of it being like one of my all-time favorite games. The fact that they just completely threw everything away for Xbox exclusive just was ridiculous. And it's like, and that I just, even though I had an Xbox and could play it, I had zero interest. It was not happening, and so I just didn't buy it. I waited until the time exclusive ran out and got it on PlayStation instead, because I was like, no, I'm going to wait until it's actually a universal thing and you do away with that bullshit. And I'm beyond glad that Shadow didn't do it again, even though Shadow had other problems, mostly being rushed, that ended up hurting it in the long run. It was still, I'd much rather, you know, it release on everything and not one platform because Microsoft showed up with money. Oh, that's a weird lag spike. That was an odd one. That one usually doesn't happen. I wonder if it was just the sheer audacity of Vergil's existence that was, like, breaking the game there. yeah, that was an odd lag spike. Couldn't help but notice that, as we're already in the last room of this mission, because, you know, Vergil. Oh, I'll show off both of the rooms this time, actually, because I didn't last time. I forgot to really talk about it, like, because I showed off one and went, yeah, there is another one, but whatever, and then just moved on. I feel like I should actually show you that there are actually indeed two in here. Because the amount of times I see people talk about only there being one unique room, and it's like, well, no, there's two. It's just most people only, like, remember one of them is whichever one they go to first. More often than not, it's the one with the gold orb in it. Or the longer one, as most people know it as. Because the other one that doesn't have the gold orb in it is actually pretty short. And for the fact that they both lead to a red orb crystal, because the gold orb is only on your first visit, for lack of a better phrase. Yeah, if you're going for, like, the sake of showing off the extra room just to spice up this mission a little bit more, or like back in the early days when, like, DMC5 first came out, and people were still, like, exploring and discovering new things together, people, like, anytime they did a run, would always go out of their way to, like, go into the room just on the off chance someone online who was playing as well would spot them and go, oh, there's something there. Like, there was a really nice community spirit about DMC5, and this mission was kind of like one of the core pinnacles of it because of the co-op nature of it. Even if it was extremely problematic because of the lack of any real proper matchmaking in place, it just kind of Shadow did it in the background and you had no control or say in it, to such an extent that it would alter your difficulty level just to keep up with it if it so decided. Which is why I turned it off in the main playthrough. On the off chance it found someone all this time later, there was a good chance it would have lowered my difficulty to play on their level just to meet them instead of making them up to mine. Because it wouldn't really be fair to up them to mine if it's like their first playthrough on normal and suddenly some D&D player rocks up and just ruins their day. Because all the enemies suddenly just end them. But it made it really fun. Even like playing as V, which I said, like, oh, I've gone on record of saying so many times now how much I didn't enjoy it. Playing as V with a competent Nero and a competent Dante in here, all three of you together, ripping through this mission as a team, like just three strangers that don't know each other, don't talk to each other, but just combo and bounce off each other because it's the nature, the beauty of Devil May Cry. Not only made us all want more of a dedicated multiplayer mode of some kind in this game, but as a whole, made more memories. Like, if you were in, like, the launch window, the launch month, I want to say, that you can still find it on occasion, it's just nowhere near as likely nowadays. But if you were in that sort of gap window, Devil May Cry 5 genuinely had some of the best experiences in gaming for me as an action game person who very much grew up in this sphere for a long time alongside JRPGs. Like, there were some great memories I made with complete strangers just messing around in here, so finding little secrets and whatnot together just made it all the more rewarding. Which is probably why so many of us are so bitter at the fact that there was never any official dedicated multiplayer system in place. It's just this kind of soft, we will do it for you and then you will have no say in it ever again attitude, where you can't, like, privately invite a friend, you can't make it matchmake with certain people, you can't have any influence on it. It just, you're in it, and that's what you're stuck with. As we go and find the other one. I think it's around here somewhere. You're just kind of looking for a hole in the floor. Same as the other one. It's just... it can't be too much further. I'm going to end up doing a whole circle soon. Oh, I see. There it is. This is the other hole. So that one leads to the gold orb. This one is just a much shorter one that leads to another red orb crystal. And if for some reason you still have any doubts, well, I shattered that red orb crystal. So if there's a red orb crystal at the top of this one, you know for a fact it's the other one. Even though its layout is completely different, and that should be enough of a signal. But I know how picky some people can be. So just in case you need more proof, well, other than the red orbs we're picking along the way, that obviously we picked them up as we were on the other route, so they wouldn't be here. Up here, there it is. See, it's an alternate route. There we are. Oh, I'm way off. I was going to see if I can try and line it up. Yeah, no, we're way off. Let's just go. Oh, I still missed it. They couldn't even give me that one. No little cutscene to play. As soon as you jump into the void, it just ends the mission. Which, to be fair, you can tell how cutscene heavy... that's probably the wrong word for it. It's not really that cutscene heavy, but cutscene more focused and story focused DMC5 is compared to the rest of the series. When you take it out, how quickly some of these missions pass. Specifically Mission 14, the mission we're on now. Which, by the way, because they were aware of how needless this section is, they give you all these, like, warp or panels. Just so you can get straight to the bit where the boss rush is. And then once we've done it, it gives you a bunch more to just get to the bit where you have to break the blood clot just to get to the end of the level. Like, because they are aware that this mission is kind of pointless for V outside of the boss rush. They're like, no, we're just going to make it when you're not playing as him, you skip to it. As now, we're going to double dip in destroying some of these bosses. More so Cavalier, because it's only earlier this video we wrecked Cavalier, and now here we're going to be again wrecking his day. But Goliath needs to go down first. I've mixed up the order as well, because I did Artemis, Cavalier, Goliath as V. So I was like, well, I don't want to just do that pattern again. Like, you might as well mix it up. I stick by my thoughts that if in an alternate universe where V was an extra character and they just gave those extra missions to Nero, it would have been nice for them to throw a nod to DMC3, like make it later on in the adventure, like after the fight against Nightmare but before Vergil. Squeeze it in there as a boss rush, make it all of the main bosses in the game other than like Gilgamesh and Urizen. And make it so you need to defeat some of them to get access, but defeating all of them will get you the Blue Orb Fragment. Because the last Blue Orb Fragment in the game, as stands, it just kind of gives to you, because it's free random red imbues. As you kill them, it drops it. And so if they'd done that instead, it would have been cool. But that's just me harkening on the past so much and being a fanboy of DMC3 too much, I imagine. Right, this fight at Cavalier, you're going to really feel that reduced health, because these versions have reduced health anyway because it's a boss rush, and that's something that's been a part of DMC since DMC3. The boss rush version of the bosses do have slightly reduced health. But this, oh boy, this is that's gonna kill it. Oh, almost. Now it's, yeah, do you see how it was? That was like a grand total of 5 or so hits, and then it was dead. Look how many stylish points we have off that. For a mission that doesn't have any encounters to make the most of LDK, that is just a raw 8,700 stylish points off of these bosses. Which even further begs into question what was going on with mission 10, 12, and 18 in the main campaign for them to be so aggressively against you in the stylish points. Wow, okay, so the judgment card doesn't auto-lock in the boss introduction. You have to wait until the introduction finishes before you get the auto-lock. Nice to know. Oh, even Artemis is going to be dead in about 0.5 of a second. Oh my goodness, blistering! I wasn't even. I glanced at the health as I let go of the blistering sword. The blistering sword did more damage than anything else. Absolutely tore it to shreds. Anyway, let's go. I've spent enough time talking about various things. This is the thing when you get evening me. I get more chatty because it's more like my brain is, I guess, had the whole day to kind of dwell on whatever topics I want to talk about, and so I end up talking about more. But it's doing even more of these devil panel things, whatever they're called. They're just throwing you around. You miss a red orb though if you follow them. You might have noticed there was a cluster there, and we missed one on the corner because of just the trajectory of it all. It just throws you. But this is where they stop for a while because it's like, oh no, we need a puzzle to do here. It's just breaking this thing. Oh, what? We're not close enough to auto lock? Okay, Vergil. I see how it is. And then once we go past it, there will be a couple more, and then that's it. This is where that blue orb fragment was, by the way. Like one of the only ones I missed. The only thing that's annoying is getting out of this damn hole once you're in it, because the camera angle is not great. There we go. Whereas like you run over here, break the other blood clot, and then there's a couple more of those hooks or whatever they're called. But oddly enough, they space out the hooks in a way where you have to do some kind of action, otherwise you'll hit the floor and just stand still. That you gotta preferably do like a stinger, because otherwise you won't reach it. And it's like, Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up because it's a long enough video. Next time on Devil May Cry 5, we're going into the Malthus and Cerberus chunk of the game. But until then, you guys take care now. Oh, no damage too. Result. Peace.